Wondering how you can become better at running your business? Entrepreneurship can be stressful. There's too much to do and not enough time. If you're isolated in your daily decisions, have no fear. Success and balance are possible. Welcome to the Small Business Answer Man podcast, where you master the art of running a successful business using practical advice from experts who want to help you succeed. Now, here's your host, Gary Wilbers.
Welcome. We're glad to have you back again this week for another great podcast. I told you my goal in this third quarter was to find guests that really will help you the rest of this year and then going into next year to really improve your business or maybe even improve yourself. And today I think I found that guest again that's really going to help us in this area, because our podcast is the Small Business Answer Man. So it's really about your business and how you can improve to really make it a better business. And Mark, I'm excited to have you here today, but would you share with them, my listeners, what problem will you help them solve?
How to get out of how. Most people have great ideas, and then they get stuck in the quagmire of implementing how they're going to be able to achieve it. They get up in that monkey mind. How am I going to do this? How am I going to do this? How am I going to do this? And when they get in that how stage, that's when all the doubts and stuff creeps in as well and sabotages them. So there's a way around all of that to be able to produce a breakthrough results in a matter of minutes.
It's going to be a great conversation because this is a big challenge for business owners. And Mark Scherer is with us, and he's the CEO and the founder of Encompass Life. He has developed the quantum leap technique. We're going to call it QLT sometimes, so keep that in mind. But it produces profound results in all areas of one's life with velocity. Mark, it is great to have you on the podcast. Welcome.
Thank you, sir. Great to be here.
Yeah, it's good to have you. And I'm kind of curious. I think we probably better start out, since we talked about you developed the quantum leap technique. Let's start from the basics and let's share, if you would, share your philosophy and what the quantum leap technique is.
Yeah, well, I've done a lot of personal growth courses over. I guess I've started being an entrepreneur at age 24, 26, something like that. I've had numerous different companies. Some of them did well, some of them not so well, but I learned a lot from them. And when I was doing doing my business, working with my companies, something I've always was interested in was my own personal development. I think I had more passion around that than I did with some of my businesses. And so the business I had more passion around personal development with, they kind of ended up tanking. But so I just got to discover what passion was about. So the quantum leap technique is really interesting because most of the personal growth work I've done was you got to think positive and don't think negative, right? I'm sure you've heard all that, yes?
Sure.
To me, that was like herding cats. I mean, it was excruciatingly painful to try to manage my thoughts. And I've done meditation and, sit down and get into a place of Om, all that to find that level of peace. Well, there's some of the classes I started working with, they were really heavy, working really, really heavy with feelings. Most people don't talk about that here in the U.S. In fact, if we have feelings, if you're feeling depressed, get a pill or something. So we almost look at the feelings as if they're a weakness, but really, our feelings are like the gas pedal on a car. When you have, I'd much rather work with somebody who has a lot of passion for what my company's about, and has some skills, but the skills can be taught. The passion, not so much, right? So somebody really has their heart into the game, things start to really show up really quickly for them. And all this stuff we're doing, it goes back to a lot of different philosophers. Henry Ford, he says, if you say you can't or you say you can, you're right. One of the quotes I remember from Einstein was, he said, if somebody gave him a problem to solve, and gave him an hour to solve the problem, he said he would spend the first 50 minutes coming up with the correct question to ask himself, and 10 minutes to solve the problem. I'm like, that's something, right? So I began to question what I was questioning inside myself. And I started to notice that no matter what type of questions I put out, I was getting answers. Most people don't realize they're getting, it's in scriptures it says, ask and you shall receive. Everything we do here is based in quantum physics. Scriptures is the same thing, not religion, but these certain spiritual laws that are available to us. So as I began to take classes and notice things, I noticed I was asking myself some really stupid questions and getting answers to the stupid questions I asked, like, why am I such a screw up? Why is life so hard? Why can't I figure this out? And so what I noticed was I was getting a bunch of ahas from a place of hate because I asked them with hate. It's very interesting how that worked, right?
Right.
So I was getting all these ahas. So the conscious mind, most people try to do things consciously and figure things out. The conscious mind works between 40 bits of information per second up to 2,000 bits of information per second. The subconscious mind runs between 20 million up to 400 billion bits of information per second. What a difference, right? It's like getting access to the internet through 2 tin cans and a string or 50 T1 lines, right? So, and the key to being access our subconscious is through feelings, and to program our subconscious is through feelings. Most people have programmed their subconscious by speaking things they hate. Why, I can't do anything right. Life's so hard, and they have a lot of feelings associated with that. When they do that, they're programming their subconscious to see that way, and also to continue creating that same scenario over and over and over again. So we were talking about the quantum leap technique. The quantum leap technique we do here is a way to reprogram the subconscious in a matter of seconds or minutes into one that actually gives you what you're really choosing for it to do, rather than programming out of a reaction of something you hate. Gary, I was leading a class in Houston a number of years ago, and I was asking people, what don't you like in life? Oh my God, dude, there was so much passion for people to share. They couldn't wait to share what they hated, And I said, just give me 3 things. No one just wanted to give me 3 things. They had a whole litany of things that they desired to get out. So I'm discovering, watching all this stuff, and go, wow, people compete on how much they can complain. Who can suffer the most? Who can have the most issues and all that. So I asked, after about an hour of speaking with them, I asked them again. I said, now tell me, what do you love about life? Dude, I could have dropped a pin in the room and you would have heard it. Like no one would say a thing. So in order to notice that people are competing on being able to complain, and we can program ourselves to compete on what we really love and how successful we can be and how much ease we can bring in our life. But it takes a completely different way of thinking to produce that, and a different language to do so.
Yeah, I would agree, because I think one of the things I believe our society has done is kind of taught us to be that negative. So I talk about sometimes when I go out and speak to people is we've got to reprogram that, because otherwise, if all your input is negative, what normally comes out? The output does. So I'm curious, just, because you really touched on something that I believe wholeheartedly in, is we've got to change what goes in to be able to get a different result that comes out.
Right. And even the positive and negative things, when we're in that positive and negative conversation, that's still this language of duality. Right. The good, bad, right, wrong. Everything we do here is based on actions and results, not good, bad, positive, and negative, or any of that. When we can move into that actions and results modality, what it does is it takes the shame off of those things as well. So if somebody's having a repetitive pattern, maybe issue with money, issue with an employee, issue whatever, anything that's repetitive. There's rather than trying to deal with the pattern directly, what we do here is we deal with the glue that holds it together. And there's
Hmm.
four things that I call the glue that holds it together. And those things are shame, blame, guilt, and hate. And anything that's a repetitive pattern has those four emotions involved with it also. And when those are involved, that pattern just stays in place, stays in place. Did you ever go out drinking when you were back in your younger days?
Oh yeah.
You ever make a you ever get a little embarrassed about doing something?
Oh
And
yeah.
you go, I'm never ever going to do that again. And a week later, you're going, well, maybe, right? So the more somebody has shame for something, the bigger the pattern gets and the more repetitive it becomes. Or like little kids, you ever see a kid, I'm so sorry, Daddy. I'll never ever do it again. And the next thing you know, they're doing the same crap again, right?
Right.
So you have to be able to move that glue, dissolve that glue, and once you can do that, the pattern just kind of falls apart on its own.
Yeah. What great concept. And we're going to get into more information. So we're going to take a short commercial break. We'll be right back. And now back to the show. Well, I think that's really interesting. We've talked about some of the challenges and what quantum leap technique is, but quantum leap technique. Yes, I said it
Yeah.
right. I was thinking, boy, did I jump off on the wrong tangent there? But
Mhm.
share with us, if you would, really an example of the QLT system working with something maybe in the business world where clients have achieved some success that you've had.
Yeah. So we've had numerous clients triple their income in 90 days.
Wow.
That's pretty cool. I mean, and also basically all they're doing. Let's say I'll do it a different way. I'll tell you about one particular client, or two. Give you maybe two. One that happened a long time ago. One lady, she had something traumatic happen in her life. She was an attorney, and her business would get to a certain level, and she'd blow it up, and it'd drop back down. Her relationship would get to a certain level, she'd blow it up and drop back down. And this person had a trauma, a sexual trauma. Going to be really specific about it. And during the trauma, it was pain. It was she knew it was traumatic for her, but her body responded in a way that was also stimulated. So one of her core thing when we're speaking with her is she goes, here's what's happening to me, and I feel guilty about feeling good. So she had that core belief put into herself. So anytime something good would come up in her life, she'd feel guilty about it and blow it apart. We found that core belief, shifted it really quickly, and within, I think it was like 3 months, she more than doubled her business and got into a relationship that was really, really great. I had another client that was doing about 25 to 35 million a year. They'd hired a couple of business coaches to double their business. 20, that's a nice business.
Yeah.
Um, they came to a class and signed up, and also our leadership development program. And within a year, they went from 35 million to 350 million.
Wow.
And now they're about 3.5 years in, and they're hitting $1 billion. So to go from 35 million to 3.5 billion, or excuse me, $1 billion in 3.5 years, that's crazy growth. And it's in a service industry, not a computer company or drug company or anything like that. So that's really, really significant hockey stick type of a growth. And when I found out, a lot of people are doing things out of spite and have reached a certain level of success out of spite, trying to prove something. Maybe trying to prove to their dad or somebody that they're successful or they can do it, and they're doing it out of that anger, and that anger will get you to a certain level, and then that's a glass ceiling that you're going to have to change everything to go to the next level. I mean, somebody doing 25 million and somebody doing 350 million is a very, very, very different person. And what we found out here too is what limits a person the most in their life is also what they hate the most about themselves, and also what they defend the most. So working with people at this level to produce these types of breakthrough results, I have to be willing to face somebody's hate and their defense mechanisms. Actually, you know, there may be a time you don't like me during the course of what we're doing here, but you're paying me for you to achieve this next level of results. And you may not like me for a period of time, but then once you move through it, well, you'll love me again. So, and the results are amazing. It's a really, really unique way to change that whole person's beingness. It's not what you do in life. It's the beingness behind it. You can do everything with resentment, and you're going to get more resentment. You mentioned that a while ago, right? So we have a really, really quick way of finding what's going on in the beingness of the person and having that shift.
Yeah. I can see how that would make a change, because, you know, you have to become something different. You got to be a different being, you know, if you grow an organization, if you know, for yourself. I mean, so many people, they say they want to make change, but they won't do the work to be able to make that change. And you've got to really get in the root cause of what that challenge is. Can you share with us, if you don't mind, Mark, kind of, you know, how does it, you don't tell me exactly. I know we don't have time to show me exactly how it works, but when you work with a client, what's kind of the process that you go through with your company?
Yeah, well, we have some foundational courses. Before I would do private calls with people, but before I actually do private calls with somebody, I recommend they do one of our basics classes that gives them the bones of how this system actually works. With one, it's going to save them a lot of money to do so that way. Plus, what I've noticed is when people are working together in a group, they begin to see somebody else go through a shift, and the person tells them about what results that shift's producing in their life. And on some level, their emotional body goes, if they can do it, I can do it. And that's where the magic really occurs. They see somebody else do it as well. So it accelerates the person to work together in a group. And once they get to a certain level of group understanding and group work, then I can work with people individually. Like once we start working together, we have a series of, where do you really choose to head? And one of the big distinctions we have here is the difference between a result and an outcome. Most people work with producing results in their life, and the results are like they may produce a result of having X amount of dollars in the bank or hit a certain money goal or whatever. And they hit it, and they'll get to it, and they go, that ain't it. And they're like, well, let me set a bigger goal. And then maybe they hit that, and they go, that still ain't it. And so no matter what they're happening in their outer world, they still have this hole and unfulfillment on the inside. So one of the things we work at with here is outcome. And an outcome is a first-person personal experience. So instead of saying I have X amount of dollars in the bank, their outcome may be I finally hear my dad say I'm really, really proud of me. I hear my wife go, honey, golly, I love you so much, right? A lot of people think business and personal relationships are separate, but no. How men think they're great at compartmentalizing. You ever heard, oh, men, I can compartmentalize that. Here's how men compartmentalize. Here's a punch bowl with a few turds floating around in it. And here's how men compartmentalize. They take a piece of cheesecloth, they strain the punch bowl, and they leave the turds and the punch bowl in the side of the cheesecloth, and they think they have it all compartmentalized, but it's leaking out into all areas of their life.
Right.
And they bring it to work, and it affects their creativity, and it affects their intuition, and it affects their overall happiness. They're either going to affect them in their pocketbook or affect them in their health, but something's going to cave. So,
yeah, a great analogy. And I tell you, you really nailed the business owners, because I know a lot of business owners, all they work on is the result. And then they wonder why. They think, well, if I reach this in sales, or if I have this much income, that it's going to be the answer. And then I'm going to have that freedom. And then I'm going to get there. But
Yeah.
what you're telling us, it's that outcome that is so important to us. So I
Yeah.
would tell people this is something that we've got to think about, because it's about us realizing our challenges that we have. Because as a business owner, if you fix those, that makes you better. And it's kind of
Yeah.
interesting to see your quest came from your self-development to really decide that. And I know you and I were talking a little bit about you're doing some leadership now, and sharing some of those concepts. What can you share with me, if you would, in the leadership side? Because of course, business owners, this is huge for them to think about.
Yeah. There's something I've had on my desk probably for 30 years.
Sure.
And there's a little thing I got right. I can't see it, but a little frame thing here. And it says leading organizations successfully today requires leaders to transform themselves personally. New leadership literature shows a consistent correlation between personal leadership success and their level of self-mastery. The greater their self-mastery, the greater their success. That's by Mark Mickelson and John Anderson. So if we're in a state of frustration or anger or resentment, our creativity is shut off. I'll just say it this way. Stanford did a study, and they said complaining damages the neurons in the brain. They said even if you're passively listening to somebody complain, it damages your neurons. I'm from Texas, Gary, so I like to simplify things. Complaining makes us stupid, right? So that chemical cocktail that the person produces in a state of complaint, which, and also you could say it has the negative emotions of anger, resentment, frustration, jealousy, or whatever all those things are, it's limiting the person's ability to cognitively solve issues, and the neurons fire in the same pattern again and again and again and again. So there's a way to reprogram the brain by changing body chemistry, rather than trying to change thought, because that takes a while to do so. You know, if you haven't drank in a while, give you a couple of shots of tequila, you're going to think some different things, right? Okay. So it doesn't take a whole lot of body chemistry change to alter thought. So we do everything backwards compared to what other people are doing. We work with the body chemistry and brain chemistry change first, and then thought changes instantly. And instead of the brain firing in the same furrows with the same thinking that got them into the problem, it begins to fire across the field. They begin to build new neurological pathways in a way that provides solutions for you. When somebody's complaining, you're programming the subconscious to see what's wrong. And when we start doing it this way, what we do is we take the computing power of the subconscious to begin to provide solutions for you at faster and faster rates.
Right. Wow, that's interesting. And I can see the concept. And of course, our subconscious is so strong, as you made a mention of in the very beginning, about how it's such a quicker processor. So if you want to think about it as a computer, it takes that information in, and we can make that change so much quicker. Some great information, Mark, and it's kind of interesting to see and really to understand. And the thing is, you've got a podcast out there. If they want to learn more there, I'm sure you share some more information there. It's encompasslife.com/podcast. So check out his podcast.
Well, that's actually, you can go there for a free, for free, a little class we have on there. So we have a little giveaway for you. We have a little giveaway for your folks.
Okay, great. So that's at encompasslife.com/podcast. We'll have it in show notes. So there's a gift there. Would you share with them a little bit of what is that course? What will they get out of that?
Great question. We keep changing it, so I choose to know what it is right now, or what it's going to be in July. But it's something that's going to really benefit you to move forward. You'll get some benefits out of it. And we have a class called The Basics. That's really powerful too. That's 2 2-hour calls a week for a month, plus an individual coaching call. It's a great place to start for people who really choose to master their own self, and then that begins to ripple through their own business.
Yeah, and that becomes the key. That's what I've been kind of talking about this third quarter, is when we change, our business changes. And when we change for the better, of course, our business changes and we get that benefit that's out of there. And Mark's got a website, encompasslife.com. He's on LinkedIn, it looks like, Instagram, Facebook. We're going to have all that in show notes so you can be able to reach out to him and be able to check out the information, some great information that's there. Mark, I really appreciate you sharing that. And that's kind of an interesting concept. I'm going to have to dig into it a little bit more because you piqued my interest, because this is an
Awesome.
area that I think when I talk to people, something that we need the world to change, because
Yep.
we've got to really change our subconscious to make this happen. And otherwise, if you live of the world, you're going to be of the world. And I'm a firm believer that, we have to decide what we want to program into our mind and who we want to become. So I
Yes,
love the
sir.
concept that you have there. Before you go, though, I got to ask you this question. I ask every guest this question is, what would be your best advice you would give the business owners?
We kind of talked about that earlier. Um, hmm. Find some place, sit down quiet. If you're trying to figure out how to do something, you got that monkey mind thing going on. If you can sit down quiet somewhere quietly and give yourself the feeling in your body. How about we do this together? That cool with you?
Yeah.
All right. So pretend like put your feet up, like or lean back and just go, oh my God, baby, that's it.
Mm,
Like oh yeah, like that's it. So
yeah.
bef- like that's it. Oh yeah, like like great great levels of like really relax. Oh yeah, oh my God, that worked out beautifully. And keep your eyes open. Stay in the room. Keep your eyes open. Oh, that's it. And before you ever try to produce to get a solution to your issue, sit down and give yourself the feeling in your body first. When you do that, you're beginning to change your body chemistry. You're moving from a state of sympathetic to a state of parasympathetic. The sympathetic is where ease occurs, where all creativity occurs, and intuition occurs. When somebody's in fight or flight, intuition is shut off. So be that intuitive business leader. Have yourself go to greater and greater levels of intuition. And intuition, the way we use it here, is taking the perfect action at the perfect time.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, I literally felt that and was kind of saying it to myself. And I've been on my feet all day. And I'll be honest, as we've been going through this podcast, I've been moving quite a bit because, of course, I feel tired. But by changing those thoughts, I mean, it really kind of gave energy to myself and to my feet. It's like, okay, I feel a lot better there. So that's how that feeling. So that's kind of
Awesome.
cool. Thank you
Awesome.
for
You're
sharing
welcome.
that with me.
You're
Well,
welcome.
again, his website is out there, encompasslife.com. We're going to have a gift for you. Go to encompasslife.com backslash podcast. We'll have it in show notes, so don't worry about writing it down. Just click on the link. You'll be able to sign up for that. That's a free gift that they're offering to you. So check it out and go to his website. I've been on the website, a lot of great information there, some videos, so that you can dig in a little bit deeper. If you're curious, your body, your brain is telling you, be curious. So go out there and do it versus saying, oh, yeah, that was kind of nice. I heard it. So that's going to be my action for you. Take action, to get you ultimately. Yeah, we talked about results, but what we're looking for is to get that outcome. So what outcome do you want from this podcast today? And that's going to be my action item to you. Go out there and get that outcome today. Mark, it has been great to have you on the podcast. I appreciate you sharing.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for inviting me as well. Really appreciate your interview style as well. So awesome. Thank you.
Super. Well, I told you what the action was already, so I don't have to do that anymore. We're going to just tell you, come back next week. Now, maybe you know someone that needs to hear this message. The only thing you can do to help us grow the podcast is like and share the podcast and let others know about it. So Mark really introduced a neat concept, and I know there's people out there that needs this, because those people that are negative that needs to make the change, and his quantum leap technique may be the answer to what they need. So if you would like and share this podcast and let others know about it, and we'll see you back here next week with another great guest. Make it a great day.
That's all the time we have for this week. To continue your journey, head over to smallbusinessanswerman.biz to access the tools and resources mentioned in today's show. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and share it with someone who would benefit from listening. That's smallbusinessanswerman.biz. Until next time, remember, when you find the right solutions, your business grows and you get your time back.